Hey everyone, Dave from BC Bushcraft, and welcome to another video. I'm going to be making a really simple fire starter that is really awesome in wet weather conditions. There's multiple ways that you can do this type of fire starter, but I'm going to show the way that I do it. And first off, you need a few supplies to be able to do something like this. You need like a little container. You can get these things at a dollar store. They're quite useful for a variety of purposes, and they come in maybe packs of 3 or whatever. So you need some sort of small container. You need a tea light or some sort of wax or candle or something that you can melt, because that's going to glue this whole thing together. It also is good for the fire starter as far as longevity and things like that, and in wet weather and things like that. Next up, I have Western red cedar bark. This is kind of like the fabric of the fire starter that I make. And then I have fatwood shavings. Some fatwood chips, and then I have some like kind of fine fatwood dust, I guess Maya dust, I think some people call it, but it's basically just scrapings of fatwood as well. So let's get right into it. I like to start off my fire starter. I'll usually put a small layer of Western red cedar in the bottom of the tin or whatever you're using. So I just kind of pack the bottom with some Western red cedar bark. And I try not to fill it up too much, but just to get kind of a base layer of Western red cedar. So you can use other things, obviously, things like sawdust or whatever, maybe even, I don't know, cotton, things like that. It doesn't have to be the materials that I'm using now, but the things that I'm using now do kind of are more natural. You can find them in the woods and they're kind of fun. So on top of that, I like to put just a little dusting of some fatwood shavings there, some of the Maya dust or whatever you want to call it. Next up, I like to sandwich in the middle some kind of fatwood chips. These are a little bit, a little bit thicker pieces of fatwood that are kind of just chopped up from a knife or an axe, whatever you have. So I like to fill the center of my fire starter with some of those chips. Something like that. You can kind of see it's like a bit of a cake that we're making here. And then next up, put a light layer of Western red cedar bark. Like so. Now I don't want to make it too big. I kind of have a line scratched in here where I basically will fill it up to, so that the amount of wax that's in a tea light will be able to kind of glue this as a cake. I wanted to use something that everyone could kind of judge how much wax I'm using in my fire starter. So if I filled this all up, the amount of wax in here wouldn't glue this whole thing together. So I'd have to fill it up to a certain line just to make sure that this becomes a cake and it doesn't like crumble apart. Because if you don't have enough wax, this will kind of just fall apart on you. You kind of want it to be in a solid cake, even a cake that you could break into quarters or whatever. So I like to put the bark on top of the chips of fatwood, and then on top of that, I'll put a generous amount of kind of the fatwood scrapings and shavings. And I like to top off the fire starter with these little bits, because when you go to light this, all you have to do is scrape the top a little bit and it will accept a ferro rod spark very easily, and also a lighter very easily, and this whole top layer should light on fire once you have done that. So that's the general kind of formula layer to my fire starter. So next up, what we have to do is we have to melt the tea light, and then we have to pour it into this container. So to melt the tea light, I simply just put it on the element like this, heat up the element, and then I'll use a pair of leather gloves. I'll pick it up off of the element and then I'll pour it into my fire starter. Okay, so the wax is all melted. I'll pick up carefully the tea light and then I'll just pour it evenly over my fire starter material. And you guys probably won't be able to see it because my hand's covering it, but just get an even spread. Make sure you get it to go around the sides so it comes out as a nice even cake. And then we just have to let that cool, and we will have a nice fire starter out of that. So I've let the fire starter cool. It's just time to pop it out. You can see that it comes out in one single cake like so. The wax on top, you can kind of see it glistening on top, and then there could be some more wax around these areas, but it shouldn't matter too much. The burn time on something like this should be over 10 minutes. It could be 15 minutes or something like that. It produces a really nice flame, and it's just a very, very good fire starter, especially in wet conditions. At the end of this video, I'll just put in a little clip from my previous video where I cooked up some breakfast, and I'll show you actually using this, like when it was pouring rain outside, and just how effective this thing actually can be. So I really hope that you like this video. Give this fire starter a try. It's super awesome and it works really well. And until the next video, I hope you guys have a great day. This is Dave from BC Bushcraft. Please like, please comment, and please subscribe.